Laugh Riot. But seriously, like, watching this movie, I was really impressed that for such a young filmmaker, that you are really kind of dancing on that line between comedy and drama, and I don't think you ever push it too far in either direction. Was that always the intention, or was it at some point a little bit more of one and less of the other, or how did you sort of envision it initially?
Thank you. It's nice. My co-writer and I, Seth Goldsmith and I, we talked about tone from the very beginning, and just the basic premise of the movie. At the very beginning, the very seed of
I just want everyone to know I did that with my mind. While that question was asked, I was like, I don't know if the audience is going to be able to focus unless the curtain is down, and then I was like, and then the curtain started coming down.
You definitely look better with the red background.
Yeah, I thought the pictures would look better. I just thought everything would. I thought you guys would be more inclined to ask appropriate questions. So you're welcome. And I'm glad I didn't make a big deal about it.
The seed of the idea was just basically, from the very beginning, we wanted to make a very small, contained movie, and it was just one person keeping another person awake all night from a drug, from trying to kill himself, sleeping pills. And so it was like, the subject matter's dark inherently. So we always knew it was going to be a comedy drama, and there were a lot of conversations from the writing of the script to talking with Adam and Rosa about when we were shooting, and then with my editor Grant, and finding that right balance.
Film critics often talk about chemistry in movies. Often we're talking about how actors don't have chemistry in a lot of movies, and the chemistry needs to work in this film, otherwise you really don't have one. And I want you to talk, Charles, about when did you know that Adam and Rosa had that chemistry, and Adam, when did you know that it was working between you and Rosa?
I should defer to Adam on this. He suggested Rosa from the beginning because he knew her from another project they worked on together. And so, getting together, I had lunch with them before we shot once, and it was like, okay, these two are just clicking so much that it's going to be pretty easy. It's just going to be about keeping up with them and making sure we capture that. What you talk about?
I met Rosa on a movie called Search Party that is still to be released. Still waiting on that go ahead from the studio that it's going to come out. But I didn't really have even many scenes with her, but she came in the makeup trailer the first day of working, and Rosa is just Rosa. There's just like, you've never met anyone like her. From the moment I met her, I was like, she's on fire. She's like so funny, and we just hung out a bunch on set, and when we left, we're like, we should definitely work together. We just did bits all day long. And then this movie came about, and it was just two people, and I was like, I could do bits with her all day. I know that. I know I could like feel okay on no sleep doing bits with her. And I luckily was like more than right, and it worked.
Well, she clearly felt comfortable with you enough so you could put her fingers down her throat.
That was a tough day. That was gross. I was really gay.
I'd like to really dig deep into that scene, actually, because that's one of the foulest things I've ever seen.
It's pretty foul to do. Yeah, it's pretty foul to do.
Even if it's fake, but I mean, like, what was that always there? The fingers down the throat, or was that just like, oh, he makes her throw up somehow?
There's a few sentences in the script, and then it was planned to, we knew that Adam would bring, a lot to that. We could make it was meant to be a sequence, like it was supposed to be a laugh, and then getting Adam and Rosa together to do that is they're gonna milk it for everything that's worth.
Yeah, I mean, it said he makes her throw up, and when you get in that situation here, and it's tense, it's interesting. You're making an independent film. You have no money. Every second is priceless, so you don't have many takes, and so there is attention to every scene. So when the subject matter is like he makes her throw up, you really only have like you know, that amount of time to think of how am I going to make this chick throw up. And so the first thing I thought was to stick my fingers down her throat, and it really did make me nauseous, horribly nauseous.
Well, from the location, because we knew the location ahead of time, and I had a conversation with you about whether or not you should, because it's in the script that you get nauseous and start to maybe throw up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted you to throw up in the bidet, and I think you were right that you throw up. You don't throw up, and you dry heave over her.
Yeah,
at the same time,
I had,
which I think was a better.
I had
choice.
done that. Yeah, that had happened to me before with my wife, where my wife was throwing up over me. So I had, you know, art imitates.
These are things that film critics focus on. I'm just going to vomit.
I mean, you mentioned sort of the darker aspects of the subject matter, and clearly one of the inspirations, or at least of a film that people probably compare this film to, is Billy Wilder's The Apartment, in a way. And I was wondering if you were conscious of that when you were writing it, or even when you were making it, if you know, sort of a blessing and a curse to even have that, you know, sort of hovering around you a little bit.
Charles gave me a copy of The Apartment the day we met, and I did not watch it.
That's right. I forgot.
And still to
Have
this
you
day,
never seen that?
I've not seen it. Goddamn.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was an influence, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable movie, and I don't remember if that was originally where the idea came from, but it was definitely after we started talking about the seed of the idea. It was like that one scene in The Apartment. Why can't that be a whole movie to itself? And it's one of the. I mean, I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. So it's. Yeah, absolutely.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, totally.
The,
Oh, being interviewed like this is like being interviewed by the two old men in the Muppets. It's coming fast and furious. Like two grumpy film critics.
That's the greatest compliment I've ever received.
we're asking for saying nice things.
No, I'm just busting your chops.
Look for that.
Thank you.
No, I know some people who reviewed it have said that, you know, it feels like a film stage play, except your camera movements are way too sophisticated. I mean, there's one shot where you're just going through the house. I think it's a single take, and you're just going through the house, and when you're floating through there, it's a beautiful shot, actually. How do you make a conversation between two people cinematic? How do you make it not feel like a stage play?
Thank you. That's really nice. That's you know, my cinematographer Adrian Correa, who I've worked with for years. He and I work really closely. He's incredible. And to me, the last draft of the script is sitting down with him and breaking it down and figuring out shot for shot. We very carefully planned every shot because we knew that going into the limitations, this movie's two people talking. We wanted to try to keep it as cinematic as possible. So it was about finding those. Not only finding ways to move the camera, it's finding ways to stage the scene so that, you know, how do we keep Adam and Rosa moving around? They're not just sitting across from each other talking the whole time. How do we block the scenes to get them moving around? And then how do we, you know, when are moments that justify moving the camera and finding all those moments and then taking advantage of them?
And I remember when we first sat down, you were talking a lot about Fincher, and one of our producers that produces a lot of Fincher stuff, and it just felt like a super cool thing to do with a romantic comedy with two people is to like emulate a David Fincher movie. And I don't know if necessarily this is what comes out of that, but I think we gave it a shot, and it's super cool. You know, like I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's weird. To me, like one of my biggest heroes is John McTiernan, who directed Die Hard, and I actually weirdly studied his movies before making this movie.
Well, Die Hard is not like when you go back and watch Die Hard. It's an action movie, but it's fairly contained. It's in one building.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious. You know, you come out to Hollywood, take a vacation. It's hilarious. I mean, Die Hard is amazing, and the script is airtight, so it's
It's all one night.
It's all one night. Yeah, it does have a lot of similar. I always thought that this movie was like Die Hard. I was like from day one. I was like, you know, this is my Die Hard.
Instead of the white beater, it's the rose.
Yeah.
It's the same story.
We do have a microphone set up here, so if anyone wants to comment or have a question about the movie, please feel free to step to the mic and
If you're feeling bold.
there you go.
Adam, drop the curtain, you can ask good questions, there you go.
Yeah, your question.
Step right up.
Great job, both of you. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Just to make sure like I understood everything correctly, was the moral of the story, or what was supposed to be taken away, to just never have sex with anyone ever?
Yeah, it's not a great one-night stand. It's not a pro one-night stand necessarily. But it is kind of also, because I think, the moral of the story is, I don't think this guy would have ever gotten to the place where he realized he was kind of, the emperor had no clothes. And I think that if he hadn't have gone home with her, he never would have saw that, so.
And the reverse too. I think
Yeah, she never would have seen, she needed him. So.
At least that's the intention to help.
Yeah, so just the opposite. In fact, I would say the moral of the story is, fuck when you can. Get that shit in.
I'll tell that to whoever I meet, all right?
Yeah, me too.
Another movie I'd recommend, Adam, is It Follows for you.
Yeah?
I haven't seen that yet.
Or to never seen it.
Great, excellent. One of the sort of the ideas that you come to in the movie is sort of the worship, the hero worship, and sort of the breaking down of heroes, and that's kind of something that we're seeing a lot of these days with old comedians and football coaches even. And I'm wondering if what your personal feelings on that kind of stuff. Can you separate the work from the from the heroism and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my, I don't know if you feel it when you watch this movie, but Woody Allen's one of my biggest heroes. And,
Not familiar.
There's
Annie Hall, another good movie, yeah.
Haven't heard, not interested.
And I'm a huge college football fan. I was born in Nebraska, and it was I think a big influence was stuff like that. I don't know if you guys follow college football, but the Penn State story with Joe Paterno, and I have some friends who are Penn State fans, and they just worship, and people, sports fans in particular, because actually the first draft of the script was a politician, and it kind of didn't feel right, because it was like people, when scandals happen with politicians now, they kind of just shrug, because it's so expected. These kind of scandals, it's like doesn't even feel like a thing. But it felt like it was new to do something with coaches, and there's so many, like, I love the what's his name, the Arkansas coach. What's his name? Who was there, and he had his mistress on a motorcycle, and then he crashed on the motorcycle. Petrino, yeah, Bobby Petrino, and then he told his mistress to run away from the accident and hide and pretend like she wasn't there, and then they had this press conference with him in his neck brace, and I don't know, it's just, to me, it's so crazy, and there's every 6 months it seems like there's a new sports scandal like that, and then those fans will rationalize it completely. Doesn't mean like a Patriots fans right now. There's more stuff came out today about the deflated balls and they're cheating, and talk to a Patriots fan.
Cool. Good
Talking
answer.
about sports.
Good answer. No, I love. Are you kidding? I'm a diehard sports fan.
He's a Jets fan.
I'm a Jet fan, so I'm a Met Jets fan.
That's what they
Born loser. But I thought, working in Hollywood, it resonated with me because pretty much every day you meet a hero of yours and realize they're a total piece of shit. So it was pretty easy.